Hong Kong, 1964. Late night. Rain tapped softly against the windows. Neon lights flickered across wet streets. And inside a packed martial arts hall, the air felt different, heavy, waiting. 5 men stood together, strong, experienced, certain of one thing: this would be over quickly, because in front of them stood Bruce Lee, alone. No weapons, no support, no hesitation. A voice from the crowd broke the silence. 5 against 1, he doesn't stand a chance. Another voice laughed quietly. Let's see if he's really as fast as they say. Bruce didn't respond. He just stood there, still, focused, as if the outcome had already been decided. And maybe it had, because what happened next wasn't just a fight. It was something no one in that room would ever forget. The room didn't explode into action. It tightened, like something invisible had wrapped itself around every person inside that hall, squeezing the air, slowing time, forcing everyone to feel what was coming. No one spoke for a few seconds. Only the faint sound of rain outside, tapping against the glass, echoing through the silence. Then, a chair scraped. One of the 5 men stepped forward, tall, broad shoulders, the kind of presence that usually made people move aside without question. His eyes locked onto Bruce Lee, scanning him slowly, almost dismissively. So, this is him. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried. Another man let out a short laugh behind him. I expected someone bigger. A few people in the crowd chuckled nervously, but it wasn't real laughter. It was the kind people make when they don't fully understand what they're watching, but don't want to feel out of place. Bruce didn't react. Not to the words, not to the tone, not to the laughter. He stood exactly where he was. Feet grounded, shoulders relaxed, eyes steady. But if someone looked closely, really closely, they would notice something unsettling. He wasn't just standing there. He was reading everything, every shift of weight, every breath, every intention forming before it became action. The second man stepped forward now, circling slightly to the side, trying to change the angle, trying to find an opening before the fight even began. "We've heard stories," he said, stretching his neck slowly, like a predator preparing. "Speed, power, philosophy." He smirked. "But stories don't hit back." The circle closed tighter. Now, all 5 were moving, not attacking yet, but positioning, surrounding, testing. Someone in the back whispered, "This isn't right." Another voice answered quietly. He agreed to it, and that was the truth. No one forced this. No one tricked him. Bruce Lee chose to stand there, alone, in the center of 5 men who believed strength was measured in numbers. The tallest man raised his hand slightly, signaling the others to pause. His eyes never left Bruce. "No rules," he said. Another added immediately, "No stopping." A third voice, sharper, colder, "No mercy." The words layered over each other like a sentence already written. Still, Bruce didn't move. Not yet. A long second passed. Then another. The tension became unbearable. Even the men surrounding him felt it. Something they couldn't explain. Something that didn't match what they expected from one man standing alone. Finally, Bruce shifted. Just slightly. A small adjustment of his front foot. Barely noticeable. But everything changed with that one movement. It wasn't defensive. It wasn't aggressive. It was ready. His voice came calm, almost quiet. But it cut through everything. "You're all coming at once?" The question wasn't fear. It was confirmation. One of the 5 laughed louder this time, stepping closer, invading the space. "What? You want us one by one?" Another stepped in from behind. "That would be too easy for you, right?" A few more laughs. But they felt different now. Forced. Because something in Bruce's eyes hadn't changed even once. No anger. No excitement. No doubt. Just clarity. The tallest man leaned in slightly, lowering his voice as if trying to assert control over a situation he didn't fully understand anymore. Afraid? Pause. Bruce blinked once. Slow. Measured. No. Silence. Then, just making sure, another step forward from one of them. You don't regret it. That line didn't sound like a threat. It sounded like a fact. And for the first time, one of the five hesitated, just a fraction, but it was there. The crowd felt it too. That tiny shift in confidence, that crack in certainty, that moment where everything could still turn back. But pride doesn't step back. It steps forward. The tallest man dropped his hand. That was the signal. No countdown. No warning. No second thoughts. All five moved. At once, the air snapped, and the first man lunged straight toward Bruce Lee. The first man lunged straight toward Bruce Lee. Fast. Aggressive. Certain. But what happened next didn't feel like speed. It felt like time itself. Shifted. Before the attack could fully form, before the man's weight even settled into his step, Bruce moved. Not backward, not sideways. Forward. A sharp, precise step that erased the distance between them, as if space had simply collapsed. A single strike. Clean. Direct. Final. The sound cracked through the hall, not loud, not dramatic, but so precise it cut through every thought in the room. The attacker's eyes widened. His body froze mid-intention, like a sentence that never finished. And then he dropped. The fall wasn't violent. It was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that forces everyone watching to question what they just saw. But there was no time to process, because before the first body touched the ground, Bruce was already turning. The second man had come from the left, exactly as planned, timing his attack to follow the first, believing pressure would overwhelm even the fastest opponent. He reached out to grab, to control, to crush the space. Bruce didn't avoid it. He entered it. A pivot so smooth it looked effortless, his body aligning perfectly with the incoming force, redirecting it instead of resisting it. For a split second, the second fighter thought he had control. That illusion lasted less than a heartbeat, a flash of movement, not wild, not rushed, exact. A chain of strikes too fast for the eye to separate each one, landing with purpose, not anger. The man's grip loosened, his strength disappeared, his breath vanished like it had been taken from him. He stumbled back, not understanding how he had already lost control of a fight that had barely begun. The circle was no longer tight. It was breaking, and everyone felt it. Now the third attacker moved, but this time it wasn't confidence driving him. It was urgency. He rushed forward, faster than the others, trying to end it quickly, trying to restore what had just been lost. Control. But speed, without awareness, is just chaos. And Bruce saw everything. Before the third man could close the distance, Bruce stepped in again, intercepting, not reacting, but meeting the attack at the exact point where it was weakest. A sharp, explosive motion. A strike that landed before the attacker even realized he had committed. The impact echoed short, decisive, undeniable. The third man staggered. His body turned, not by choice, but by force. And then he fell. Now the room changed. Completely. No more whispers. No more laughter. Only silence. Heavy. Pressing. Real. 3 men were down. Not slowly. Not after a struggle. In seconds. The remaining 2 didn't move. They couldn't. Because, for the first time since this began, They saw him clearly, not as a man standing alone, but as something they had completely misunderstood. Bruce stood exactly where he needed to be, breathing steady, posture relaxed, eyes locked, not with anger, but with awareness. He wasn't chasing them. He wasn't rushing forward to finish it. He was waiting, and that was worse. One of the two remaining fighters swallowed hard. His hands tightened, but not from confidence, from uncertainty. "This doesn't make sense," he muttered under his breath. The other didn't respond. His eyes stayed fixed on Bruce, trying to read him, trying to find something, anything, that could explain what had just happened. But there was nothing to read. No tension, no wasted movement, no emotion, just presence and control. The man on the right shifted his stance, stepping slightly forward, trying to force himself back into the fight, trying to rebuild the courage that had just cracked. "We go together," he said quietly. The other nodded, because now they understood something they hadn't before. Separately, they didn't stand a chance. Together, maybe they still didn't, but it was all they had left. Bruce watched them, silent, still, and then he took one slow step forward, not to attack, but to close the space, to remove their comfort, to bring the fight exactly where he wanted it. The message was clear. "Come." The two men exchanged one last look. Fear was there now, real, unhidden, but so was pride. And pride doesn't walk away. They moved, at the same time, faster than before, harder than before. With everything they had left, 2 angles, 2 attacks. One moment, the room held its breath, because this time, it wasn't 5 against 1 anymore. It was everything against him. And Bruce Lee stepped forward to meet them. Not fast, not rushed, but with a calm certainty that felt heavier than speed itself. The two men came from opposite angles, one aiming high, the other driving low, finally working together, finally abandoning ego for survival. For a split second, it looked dangerous. For a split second, it looked like this might actually become a fight. Then, Bruce moved, not away, through them. His body shifted with a precision that didn't look human to the untrained eye, his center aligning perfectly between both attacks, his timing landing exactly where both men were weakest. The first strike never reached him. Bruce's hand intercepted it mid-path, not blocking, not clashing, but redirecting it just enough to break its intention. In the same motion, his other hand struck. Short, direct, invisible until it landed. The man attacking high felt it instantly, his balance collapsing, his vision shaking, his confidence gone in a single, precise moment. But Bruce didn't stay there. He was already turning. The second attacker, coming low, thought he had an opening, his arms extending, his weight committing fully. A mistake. Bruce dropped his center, not in panic, but in control, meeting the attack at its root. A sharp shift of angle, a burst of energy, and the attacker's momentum betrayed him. What was meant to overpower was turned against him. His body twisted out of position, his footing lost, his strength scattered before it could even connect. And then, impact. Clean, controlled, final. The man didn't just fall, he collapsed. Now, only one remained standing. The room didn't breathe. It couldn't, because everything that just happened didn't feel real. 5 men, trained, confident, ready, reduced to 1, and Bruce Lee, still standing exactly as he was before, untouched, unshaken, unchanged. The last man didn't move. He couldn't, because now, this wasn't about winning anymore. This was about understanding what he was facing. His chest rose slowly, his breath heavier now, his eyes searching Bruce's face for something: anger, effort, strain, anything that made this human. But there was nothing, just calm, and that calm terrified him. "You," the man started, his voice unsteady despite his effort to control it. "What are you?" The question slipped out before he could stop it. Not as a challenge, but as doubt. Bruce didn't answer immediately. He took one slow step closer. Not threatening, not aggressive, just closer. Enough to remove distance, enough to remove illusion. His voice came low, controlled. "I'm not what you expected." Silence. The words didn't echo loudly, but they stayed. They stayed in the air, in the minds of everyone watching, in the realization slowly spreading. Across the room, the last man tightened his fists, not from confidence, from pressure, from the weight of being the only one left, from the eyes of everyone watching him now, waiting to see what he would do. He had a choice: walk away and lose face, or step forward and face something he didn't understand. Pride chose for him. With a sudden burst, he charged, faster than any of the others had moved. Not controlled, not precise, but desperate. A full commitment, everything in one final attack. The kind of movement that either ends the fight or ends you. Bruce didn't retreat. He didn't hesitate. He stepped in, timing perfect, distance exact. The man's attack never reached its full form. Bruce intercepted at the exact moment of commitment where the attacker had no control left, no adjustment possible, no way back. A flash, a strike, a shift, and everything ended. The final man froze. His body stopped as if the signal had been cut. His eyes widened, and then, slowly, he dropped. No dramatic fall, no struggle, just over. Complete. The room stood still. No one moved. No one spoke. 5 men, down. And, in the center of it all, stood Bruce Lee, breathing steady, eyes calm, as if nothing extraordinary had just happened. But everyone in that room knew the truth. This wasn't just a fight. It wasn't even a contest. It was a revelation. Something they thought they understood had just been completely rewritten in front of them. And for the first time, they realized something deeper. It wasn't about strength. It wasn't about numbers. It wasn't even about speed. It was about something else entirely. Something they couldn't yet name. Something Bruce Lee had just shown them, without saying a word. And, as the silence stretched longer, he turned, not to celebrate, not to prove anything, but simply to leave. Because for him, it was already over long before it began. Because for him, it was already over long before it began. And now, as Bruce Lee turned to leave, no one stopped him. Not the crowd, not the men on the floor, not even the ones who had moments ago been laughing, whispering, judging. Because something had shifted in that room, not just in bodies, in understanding. Bruce took one step, then another, slow, unhurried, controlled. The kind of walk that didn't need attention, but commanded it anyway. Behind him, 5 men remained on the ground. Not broken, not destroyed, but changed. And that change was deeper than any strike. A faint sound broke the silence. A breath. One of the men, the first to fall, began to move. His fingers twitched against the floor. Then his arm, slowly, painfully. He pushed himself up, not fully standing, not strong, but aware again. And the moment his eyes lifted, they went straight to Bruce. Not with anger, not with revenge, but with something else. Confusion. "How?" he whispered. The word barely formed. because it wasn't a question he expected an answer to. It was a realization he didn't understand yet. Bruce didn't turn immediately. He heard it. Of course he heard it, but he didn't rush to respond. Instead, he stopped, right before the door, the rain outside still tapping softly, as if the world beyond this room had no idea what had just happened inside. Then, he turned, slowly, facing them again, not as an opponent anymore, but as something else entirely. A teacher. His eyes moved across the room. Not just the 5 men, everyone, because this moment wasn't just for them, it was for all who had watched. "You wanted to test strength," he said quietly. His voice carried without effort. No force, no anger, just truth. But strength isn't what you think it is. The man who had spoken earlier struggled to sit up straighter, his pride still fighting to hold on to something. "We were 5, he said, his voice heavier now. "You were 1. A pause, as if the numbers still didn't make sense in his mind. Bruce stepped forward slightly, closing the distance, not as a fighter, but as someone bringing clarity. "You were 5 bodies, he said, but not 1 mind." Silence. The words landed harder than any strike, because they exposed something deeper: the lack of unity, the absence of awareness, the illusion that numbers alone create power. Another man, one of the last to fall, let out a slow breath, still on the ground, staring at the ceiling before turning his head toward Bruce. "You didn't fight us," he muttered. It sounded strange, even to him, but it was the only way he could describe what he felt. Bruce's eyes softened, just slightly. "No, a pause. You fought yourselves." The room absorbed that, every person, because suddenly it made sense. The hesitation, the misalignment, the wasted movement. They weren't defeated by force, they were defeated by their own lack of understanding. Bruce turned his gaze back to the man who had first spoken, the one who had asked how. "You rushed," Bruce said calmly. "You attacked with intent, but without awareness." The man lowered his eyes, not in shame, but in recognition. Another voice from the floor, quieter now. "And you?" Bruce didn't answer immediately. Instead, he took a slow breath, as if choosing words that weren't meant to impress, but to reveal. "I don't fight the man," he said. "I fight the moment." Silence again. But this time, it wasn't heavy. It was focused, because everyone was listening now, not to see what he would do, but to understand what he was saying. "When you moved," Bruce continued, "you committed to one path." His hand lifted slightly, not in demonstration, but in explanation. "You chose it before you understood it." He let that sit. "And once you commit without awareness, a pause, you lose the freedom to change." The tallest man, the one who had given the signal at the beginning, finally spoke. His voice was different now. Gone was the arrogance. Gone was the control. What should we have done? It wasn't a challenge. It was a question. A real one. Bruce looked at him, not above him, not down at him, just at him. "You should have seen." The answer felt simple, too simple. But that was the point. "Seen what?" the man asked. Bruce took one step closer, not to dominate, to clarify. "Yourself." The word landed deeper than anything before, because suddenly the fight wasn't about 5 men and 1 opponent anymore. It was about something internal, something they had ignored, something they had never been taught. Bruce's gaze moved across them one last time. "You focused on me," he said, "but you never understood yourselves." No one spoke, because there was nothing left to argue, only to accept. The rain outside grew slightly louder, the world moving again, time continuing. But inside that room, something had changed permanently. Bruce turned again toward the door. This time, no one stopped him. No one questioned, no one doubted, because whatever they came here to prove had already been answered, without noise, without struggle, without effort. And as he reached for the door, the man who had first laughed at him spoke again, not loudly, but clearly. "We were wrong." Bruce paused, just for a moment, not turning back this time, just listening. Then, without looking, he replied, "No." A small pause. "You were learning." And with that, he stepped out into the night. The door closed softly behind him. The rain welcomed him back into the world. But inside that hall, 5 men remained, not defeated, not humiliated, but awakened, and the silence he left behind spoke louder than any victory ever could. And the silence he left behind spoke louder than any victory ever could. For a long moment after the door closed behind Bruce Lee, no one moved. The rain outside grew louder, each drop tapping against the roof like a slow, steady reminder that time was still passing, that the world had not stopped, even if everyone inside that hall felt like it had. One of the men on the floor exhaled deeply, not from pain, from realization. He pushed himself up further this time, sitting upright, staring at the door Bruce had just walked through. "He didn't even try," he said quietly. Another man, still catching his breath, shook his head slowly. "No," he replied. "He didn't need to." That truth settled into the room like weight, because it meant something none of them were ready to admit before. This wasn't a close fight. It wasn't even a fight at all. The tallest man finally stood, slowly, not with the same dominance he had walked in with, but with a different kind of presence now, something quieter, heavier. He looked around at the others. No one met his eyes at first, not out of shame, but because each of them was replaying the same moment, again and again, trying to find where it went wrong. But there was no single moment. That was the problem. Everything had gone wrong, from the beginning. "We attacked together," one of them said, frustration creeping into his voice. "We had numbers. We had strength." He clenched his fist. "So why did it feel like we were always one step behind?" No one answered, because the answer had already been given. They just hadn't fully accepted it yet. "You were 5 bodies, but not one mind." The words echoed again, clearer now, sharper now. The tallest man walked toward the center of the room, the exact spot where Bruce had stood. He looked down at the floor. Nothing special, just wood, just space. But something about it felt different now. He took a breath, then slowly shifted his stance, mimicking what he remembered. Feet grounded, shoulders relaxed, stillness. But it didn't feel the same. It felt empty, forced, because now he understood. It wasn't about the position, it was about the awareness behind it. "He wasn't reacting to us," another man said, now standing as well. "He was ahead of us." The realization spread like a quiet fire, not fast, but unstoppable. One of them shook his head, still trying to hold on to something familiar. "That's impossible," he muttered. "No one can move that fast." But even as he said it, he knew it wasn't true, because what they had just experienced wasn't speed alone. It was timing, it was precision, it was understanding. "He knew what we were going to do before we did it," someone added. And that was the part they couldn't escape, because it meant something deeper, something uncomfortable. It meant they had revealed themselves completely, without even realizing it. The tallest man closed his eyes for a moment, replaying his own attack, the signal, the step forward, the commitment, and then the interruption. Clean, immediate, unavoidable. His eyes opened slowly. "He didn't fight us," he said again, more certain this time. "He waited for us to lose." Silence. Because that truth hurt more than any strike. They hadn't been defeated by strength. They had defeated themselves. One of the men leaned against the wall, arms crossed, staring at the ground. "So what now?" he asked. The question wasn't about the fight anymore. It was about everything after it. No one answered immediately, because for the first time, they didn't have a clear direction. The confidence they had walked in with was gone. But in its place, something else was growing. Curiosity. Real. Uncomfortable. Necessary. "We find him," one of them finally said. Heads turned. Not in agreement. Not yet, but in interest. "And then what?" another asked. The answer came slower this time, because it mattered. "We learn." That word changed everything, because it meant letting go. Letting go of ego, of certainty, of the belief that they already understood what fighting was. The tallest man nodded slowly, not as a leader, but as someone who had just realized he had been blind. He said, "We didn't understand ourselves," he murmured. And he was right. The room didn't feel like a battleground anymore. It felt like a beginning, something new, something none of them expected when they walked in. One by one, they began to move, not rushing, not reacting, just moving differently, more aware, more careful, as if the lesson had already started, even without Bruce there. Outside, the rain continued, the streets still glowing under neon lights, and somewhere in that city, Bruce Lee walked alone, not thinking about the fight, not replaying the moments, because for him, there was nothing to prove, nothing to hold on to, nothing to carry forward. Only the next moment, only the next step, only the constant flow of awareness that never stopped. But behind him, in that small hall, 5 men stood in silence, changed, not by defeat, but by understanding, and for the first time in their lives, they weren't thinking about how to win, they were thinking about how to see, because what happened that night wasn't the end of a fight. It was the beginning of a path, one they had never walked before, one that required more than strength, more than speed, more than numbers. It required something they had just discovered, in the hardest way possible. And as the night stretched on, one truth became impossible to ignore. They hadn't just faced Bruce Lee, they had faced themselves. And that was a fight far from over. And that was a fight far from over. The rain didn't stop that night. It softened, then returned, then softened again, like the city itself was breathing in slow, heavy cycles. Inside the hall, the 5 men were no longer standing like fighters. They were standing like students without a teacher. And that was the hardest position to be in. No instructions, no certainty, no pride to hide behind anymore, only questions. The tallest man moved first, not with authority this time, but with intention. "We go now," he said quietly. No one asked where. They already knew, because once you see something real, even for a moment, you can't go back to pretending. One of them grabbed his jacket, another wiped the sweat from his face, even though the fight had ended long ago. But the tension, the pressure, it was still inside them. They stepped outside. The cold air hit them immediately. Rain touched their skin, mixing with the heat still rising from their bodies. The city of Hong Kong stretched around them, alive, moving, unaware. Cars passed. People walked. Neon signs flickered like nothing had changed. But for them, everything had. "Where would he go?" one asked. The question felt strange, because just hours ago, they didn't even believe he was someone worth following. Now, they were searching for him, not to challenge, but to understand. The tallest man looked down the street, then ahead. Then, finally spoke. "He doesn't run," he said. "He moves with purpose." They began walking, not fast, not slow, but aware. Every step felt different now, more grounded, more real, as if they were finally paying attention to something they had ignored their entire lives. A few streets ahead, under a dim streetlight, a figure stood, still, calm, unmoved by the rain. They stopped, all 5 of them, because they recognized it immediately, not by face, not by form, but by presence. It was him, Bruce Lee. He hadn't gone far. He hadn't disappeared. He had simply continued, as if he knew they would come, as if this moment was always part of the path. They approached slowly. No aggression, no tension, only something new, respect. The tallest man stepped forward. For a moment, he didn't know what to say, because nothing he had said before belonged to who he was now. Finally, "We were wrong," he said, not loudly, not dramatically, just truth. Bruce didn't turn immediately. He let the silence settle first. Then, slowly, he faced them. The rain touched his face, but his expression didn't change. It never needed to. "You already know that," he replied. The words weren't harsh. They weren't soft either. They were simply accurate. One of the others stepped forward, frustration mixing with honesty. "We attacked together. We planned. We prepared." His voice tightened slightly. "And still, it felt like we never even touched you." Bruce's eyes moved to him, not judging, just seeing. "You were thinking of winning," he said. "And you were thinking of fighting." Pause. "I was thinking of neither." That sentence stopped them, because it didn't make sense. Not at first. The tallest man frowned slightly. "Then, what were you thinking of?" Bruce took a slow breath, not to answer, but to let them feel the space before the answer. Being. Silence. Rain filled the gap again. But this silence was different. It wasn't confusion anymore. It was processing. "You see fighting as something separate," Bruce continued. "A moment that starts and ends. He stepped slightly closer. "But it's not." His hand moved, not as a demonstration, but as a flow. "It's continuous." His eyes locked with theirs. "You lost before you moved." The words landed deep, because now they understood what he meant. The hesitation, the misalignment, the lack of awareness, all of it was already there. Before the first strike, before the first step. "We don't understand," one of them admitted. And that was the most honest thing anyone had said all night. Bruce nodded slightly. "Good." They looked at him, confused again. "Good?" the tallest man repeated. Bruce's gaze sharpened, not with intensity, but with clarity. "Because now, you're ready to learn." The rain slowed, almost as if the moment itself had reached a new level. One of them stepped forward instinctively. "Teach us." The words came quickly, but not carelessly. They came from somewhere deeper now. Not ego, not pride. Need. Bruce looked at them for a long second, measuring, not their strength, not their skill, but their intention. "You think this is about moves?" he asked. No one answered, because now they weren't sure anymore. Bruce stepped forward, closer than before, close enough that they could feel the calm around him, like standing near still water. "It's about removing," he said. "Removing what slows you, what blinds you, what traps you." He looked directly at the tallest man. "Your pride," then to another, "your tension," then another, "your need to control." Each word landed like a mirror, because they weren't abstract. They were exact. "This is not something I give you," Bruce continued. "It's something you uncover. The tallest man lowered his head slightly, not in defeat, in acceptance. "Then where do we start?" he asked. Bruce turned, not away, but forward, toward the street ahead. "Walk." They hesitated, because it felt too simple, too basic. But after everything they had seen, they didn't question it. They followed, step by step, behind him, through the wet streets. No formation, no plan, just movement. After a few minutes, one of them spoke. "This doesn't feel like training." Bruce didn't stop. "That's because you're used to forcing it," he replied. "This is not forcing. Another step, another breath, another moment. This is awareness." They kept walking. At first, it felt meaningless. Just walking, just silence. But slowly, something changed. They began to notice things. The rhythm of their steps, the tension in their shoulders, the way their breath rose and fell. Things they had never paid attention to before. Things that had always been there, but ignored. "This is where it begins," Bruce said. "Not in fighting. Pause. Pause. In seeing." They walked longer, the city thinning around them, the noise fading, the rain becoming softer, until they reached an open space. Empty, quiet, still. Bruce stopped. They stopped. He turned to face them again. "Now," he said, and, for the first time since the fight, they felt it. Not fear, not pressure, but clarity, a different kind of readiness. Not to attack, not to win, but to understand. Bruce stepped forward slowly. Again, no aggression, no signal, just presence. The tallest man moved first, but this time, something was different. He didn't rush. He didn't commit blindly. He observed. He felt. He waited. Bruce moved. And, for the first time, the man saw it. Not fully, not perfectly, but enough. Enough to realize this was a different world. A deeper one. And as they began again, not as opponents, but as learners, the real journey finally started. Because what happened in that hall was only the beginning. What came next would change them forever. Because what happened in that hall was only the beginning. What came next would change them forever. The night stretched deeper. The rain had almost stopped now, leaving behind a thin mist that hovered over the empty street like a memory that refused to fade. Under the dim lights, 6 figures stood. 5 men who had come to fight, and 1 man who had come to show them something they didn't even know they were missing. Bruce Lee stood in front of them, not as an opponent anymore, but as something far more difficult to face. A mirror. No one spoke, because now, words felt unnecessary. Everything that needed to be said was already understood at a deeper level. Bruce looked at them one by one, not quickly, not casually, but with a kind of attention that felt complete, as if he wasn't just seeing their movements, but their patterns, their habits, their limits, and their potential. "Again," he said, quietly. The tallest man stepped forward, but this time he didn't rush. He didn't attack blindly. He didn't try to prove anything. He simply stood, watching, feeling, breathing. And for the first time, he realized how much he had been missing before. Every small shift in Bruce's body, every slight change in balance, every subtle movement of energy, it was all visible now. Not fully clear, but no longer invisible. He took one step, slow, measured, not committing, just testing. Bruce didn't strike. He didn't interrupt. He allowed it. And that was more terrifying than anything before. Because now, the responsibility wasn't on Bruce. It was on him. The man moved again. This time, a little faster. A little more certain, but still aware, still present. Bruce moved in response. Not faster, not stronger, just exactly when needed. Their movements met, not clashing, not colliding, but connecting. For a brief moment, it didn't look like a fight. It looked like a conversation, a silent exchange between two bodies trying to understand each other. Then, Bruce stepped through, a simple motion, clean, effortless, and the man found himself off balance again, not thrown, not struck down, just guided out of position. He stopped, breathing slightly heavier now, but not frustrated, not angry. Something else had replaced it. Respect. I felt it, he said quietly. Bruce nodded. Good. Another man stepped forward, then another. One by one, they moved, not to attack, not to win, but to experience. And each time, the same thing happened. They moved. Bruce responded. They lost balance. They recovered. They learned. Slowly, subtly, but undeniably, time passed. Minutes, maybe longer. None of them were counting anymore, because, for the first time, they weren't chasing an outcome. They were inside the process. The night grew quieter. The city faded further into the background, and in that small, open space, something rare was happening. Transformation. Not loud, not dramatic, but real. The tallest man stepped back after another exchange. Sweat mixed with rain on his face, his breath steady, his eyes clearer than before. This is different, he said. Bruce looked at him. It always was. Pause. You just couldn't see it. Silence again. But now, it felt calm, grounded, complete. One of the men looked around, the street, the lights, the space they were standing in, and then back at Bruce. How long does it take? He asked. The question carried more weight than it seemed, because it wasn't about time. It was about change. Bruce didn't answer immediately. Instead, he stepped back slightly, creating space, letting the question settle. Then, as long as you hold on, he said slowly, it will take forever. They felt that deeply because they understood now what he meant. Holding on to ego, to habits, to the need to be right, to the fear of letting go, that was what kept them stuck. Not lack of strength, not lack of skill. One of them looked down at his hands, hands that had trained for years, fought, won, lost, but never understood. So we let go? He asked. Bruce shook his head slightly. You don't force letting go. Pause. You see clearly. And it drops. The simplicity of it was overwhelming, because they had spent their lives trying to add more technique, more strength, more strategies, and now they were being told to remove, to simplify, to see. The tallest man took a deep breath, then another. He closed his eyes for a moment, not to escape, but to feel. When he opened them again, something had changed. Not completely, not perfectly, but enough. I think I understand a little, he said. Bruce nodded. That's enough. Another silence. But this time, it didn't feel like something was missing. It felt like something had been found. The night was ending. Slowly, faint light beginning to touch the edges of the sky. The first sign of morning. One of the men noticed it. We've been here all night, he said quietly. Bruce didn't respond, because time had never been the focus. Only awareness, only presence, only the moment. The tallest man stepped forward one last time, not to fight, not to train, but to speak. What happens now? He asked. Bruce looked at him, then at the others, then beyond them, into the distance. You continue. The answer was simple, but complete. "Without you?" one of them asked. Bruce's expression didn't change. "I was never meant to stay." Those words carried a quiet finality, because deep down, they already knew. This wasn't about following him. It was about walking their own path, with what they had seen, with what they had felt, with what they were beginning to understand. The tallest man nodded slowly. No resistance. No argument. Only acceptance. "Thank you," he said. The others echoed it. Not loudly, but sincerely. Bruce gave a small nod, not as a teacher receiving gratitude, but as someone acknowledging the moment. Then he turned, just like before. No drama, no final statement, no need to stay. And he walked, step by step, into the fading night, into the rising morning, until his figure became smaller and smaller, and then gone. The 5 men stood there, watching, not trying to follow, not trying to call him back, because this time they understood. He didn't disappear. He moved on, and now it was their turn. The tallest man looked at the others. No words were needed. They felt it, all of them. The same realization, the same beginning. They turned, not toward the hall, not toward the past, but forward, into whatever came next. And as they took their first steps, not as fighters chasing victory, but as students chasing understanding, one truth remained clear. They had entered that night believing in strength. They left it understanding something far greater and far more difficult. The fight was never against others. It was never about numbers. It was never about proving anything to the world. It was about awareness, clarity, presence, and the courage to see yourself completely. Because in the end, they didn't just face Bruce Lee. They faced the illusion of who they thought they were, and for the first time in their lives, they stepped beyond it. Not perfectly, not completely, but enough to begin. That night in Hong Kong didn't end when the fight was over. It didn't end when 5 men fell. It didn't even end when Bruce Lee walked away into the rain. Because what happened wasn't just a moment, it was a shift. 5 men walked into that hall believing in numbers, in strength, in control. They believed victory came from overpowering, from proving, from dominating. But they walked out with something far heavier, something far more difficult to carry: awareness. They realized the truth most people never face. The greatest fight is not against others. It's against the illusion inside you. Bruce Lee didn't just defeat them. He exposed them, not with anger, not with force, but with clarity. He showed them that speed means nothing without awareness, that strength means nothing without control, and that numbers mean nothing when the mind is divided. And maybe that's why he didn't stay, because his job was never to win fights. It was to wake people up. So the real question isn't what happened that night. The real question is, what would happen if you stood in that circle? Would you rush in with ego? Would you rely on strength? Would you follow the crowd? Or would you pause and see? Because the truth is, most people live their entire lives like those 5 men, reacting, forcing, trying to win battles they don't even understand. But a few, a very few, learn to step back, to observe, to become aware, and when they do, everything changes. So before you leave this story, ask yourself one thing: are you fighting the world, or are you finally starting to understand it? Because once you see clearly, you don't just fight better, you live differently. And that is the real power.